Hey y'all, this is part 12 from Trust to Trauma, Dating My Therapist. Let's go. So I came back to the house. My daughter was there and she was asking me, how everything went. And I told her that, Kay and I just caught up. And so I was asking her, I was like, so how do you feel about Kay? She was just like, I think Kay is a very nice person as far as how she help us. But I equally feel as though she's very sometimed. She was like, she's hard to figure out. One day she's okay, the next day she's not. So I don't really know about, being around her like that. And I was just like, that's fair. I understand. So I was like, do you think that people can change? My daughter was like, no, I don't think so. I think she's just who she is. And so I was like, damn, okay. And I was like, so you don't think that people actually can get better? She was just like, I don't. And it was so scary for her to say that because I was like, well, there are situations where, I do things or I have done something, but I become better at it, and I've changed. And she was like, yeah, but this is different. And I just left it at that, child. So my daughter also mentioned the fact that when we first was going to move to Montgomery, we were moving in with Kay and her cousin, Shay. So remember, Shay did nails at the house. So before we even moved in, Shay had moved out. Now, originally, Shay had moved in because there were problems going on with her and her mom. And she ended up moving with Kay. And Kay agreed to have Shay there to do nails set up in the house. So after a while, Shay had become very popular with her nail business. And so there were so many people coming to the house, like back to back, guys, girls, a whole bunch of teenagers. And so Kay was just like, I don't really know about this. And so she addressed it a couple of times and it apparently had gotten better. However, Kay was just like, you know what? I'm just going to close the nail shop. So that occurred. The nail shop was closed. And so Shay just stayed there. After like a little while, like she told Shay that she needed to call her mom and that she needed to go. Like just like that. Now, Shay was paying to have her nail shop there or whatever. But Kay was just like, there was a big old thing with the mom, because for one, the mom was upset that Kay took her in without even consulting with her. And so when she put her out, then it's like, oh, so now you want me to be involved. It didn't end too well. And so my daughter, she felt the way about it because she thought she was going to have like someone in the house that she could talk to. And Zai had felt the way about it ever since. So the whole conversation just had me thinking like real hard because my daughter definitely had a point. I didn't even think about it like that. Like, dang, she sure did kick her cousin out and she was only in high school. So I can only imagine how bad that would have made her feel. But was that enough for me to cut it off? I guess we'll see. So one morning I had got a phone call from Tisha, the loctician I was working with. And when I saw her name pop up, I got super excited because I'm like, okay, she must be doing really good. We can get back to work and all that, right? So when I answered the phone, it was a FaceTime call and she was calling me from the hospital room. And I was like, hey, girl. She's like, hey. And I'm like, you okay? And she's like, well, not exactly. I have a couple of, procedures, surgeries or whatever that I have to get. And so I'm not really sure how long I'm going to be in the hospital. And so I'm like, oh my God, like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And so she's telling me all these different things. And so she's like, I wanted to tell you that I'm not really sure how long I'm going to be in the hospital. And so we may have to actually pause the contract. Y'all, like, I'm like, oh my God, no. So it's crazy because we were at the very end of the month and normally I would get my payment on the first of the month. And so we're a week away from the first. And I'm like, my income is completely just shut off just like that. And I started to think about the conversation that I had with Kay. So I just sat there for a moment because I needed to gather myself. I had I literally had bills like lined up, you know what I mean? Car note, car insurance, storage, all those different things. And the income that I thought was coming was not coming. I panicked. And so, you know, I immediately set up my account with DoorDash, Grubhub, Spark. Like, those 3 was in full rotations. I'm grabbing my keys. I'm throwing on a hat, some, you know, jogger pants. I had my little wagon. Y'all, I was out the door. So, you know, my daughter was like, where you going? I'm just like, I'm finna go drive. And she's just like, let me come with you. So we end up driving or whatever. We end up coming to the suburban area. And we started to do some DoorDash. So we were making money. As we're making money, we're eating. And I'm starting to realize that, dang, like, I feel like I'm spending more money in gas than I'm actually getting. So we end up going to this neighborhood. It was so nice, y'all. When I tell y'all, they had like the most amazing looking houses, like big, beautiful yards, the landscape. So my daughter looks at me and she was just like, man, like, you got to get one of these. Like, you know, we deserve one of these houses. Like, these are so big and pretty. Like, I would love to have a house like this. And so I instantly felt a little sad inside because we were living in a really big house just a month ago. At the same time, I'm like, you know what? You're right. We deserve our own house. Now, I'm also equally thinking about my finances. I'm like, girl, you ain't got that credit. You don't have that down payment. You don't have that history. You don't have no pay stubs. We should not be thinking about no house. So I was just like, you know what? We are going to get that house. I was being positive about it, you know, and we just moved on from that. So after we got done driving, I went back to the house and I saw that I had a text message from Kay. And I was like, damn, she must have felt me, because I sure was gonna send her a message and tell her about today, because it was just wild. I told her about the situation with Tisha, and she was just like, I told you. She was like, I told you, like, it's time for you to open yourself up to where you can have more opportunities, because you can't depend on that. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And I was telling her how I was driving and how, you know, we were looking at houses and how I just got so depressed at the same time. And, you know, she was encouraging me, although we're not even gonna talk about it. So my sister had 2 cars. She had a car that she was driving and her boyfriend was driving the other. However, she ended up having to take it from him, honey, because he wasn't paying the car note. It was a mess, okay? So we're not gonna get into it. But I had remembered that Kay told me that she had did Turo sometime before in the past when she had multiple cars. And I was thinking like, well, could I do the same thing with this one? Like, you know, it'll equally help my sister pay her car note, but I could also make a profit off of it. So I thought about that. So Kay was telling me how to do it, set up my profile. We took pictures of the car. This is the car that I set up on Turo. I was super excited, y'all. I had went and got the oil change. I had cleaned it up, vacuumed it. I got it ready. Long story short, it did not get booked. So we on the plan C. I'm like, oh my God. So I'm sitting here like, oh my God, like, what do I do? So Kay and I, we on the phone. She helping me brainstorm. So she was just like, Dream, what is it that you want to do? Tell me everything that you have an interest in doing. So I'm like, okay. I was like, well, I'm a really good interior designer. I can design a hell out of a space. I've always wanted to do real estate. She was like, stop right there. You can do something with that. And I'm like, where's she about to go with this? Like, what she got up her sleeve? Because I ain't coming back to Montgomery. That shit dead. So she was just like, I'm about to be on the way. I think I got it. And I was just like, about to be on the way for what? Like, she was the type of person, she was very impulsive. Like, she'll jump at anything. Girl, she comes down to Birmingham. She picks me up and I'm like, where we going? Just like, just ride. And I was just like, where are we going? What are we doing? And she says, we're about to go and look at properties. And I'm like, properties? What properties? At this point, I'm intrigued. But I don't have time for no foolishness. But of course, I wanted to see next part.